Good evening. Good evening. It's Woke Wednesday. I will go ahead and get started because I don't want to take too much of anybody's time. But thank you for joining on today on Woke Wednesday. And I don't think anybody's let out a big sigh yet. The dog just did. That was kind of perfect timing. I don't know if anybody's let out a big sigh yet, but I'll tell you what, I think that a lot of people at least are happy that to some extent, I need to mute that. To some extent, that things are a little bit over, I guess you could say. So if you guys saw my post yesterday about, okay, who's tuning in to watch the end of the season finale of the United States? It's like I saw some real good memes last night. So I saw one about, it's like everybody in America is watching Maury trying to wait to see who the daddy is and that kind of stuff. I saw some fun ones last night. So I'm glad people were at least able to have a little bit of fun with it. So thank you again for jumping on. We will go ahead and get started. So go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to envision your best life, your dream life, your most fulfilled life, whatever you want to call it, your best life. Who do you spend time with? Get those people in your head. Hopefully they bring a smile to your face. And what do you do? So not just maybe for a living, but what do you do with your time? What different things do you get to do that maybe aren't getting to do right now? I've never been skiing. I know I don't really want to go skiing, but I know some people are looking forward to ski season coming up. So it's like I would be skiing all the time. I think I would probably be on a beach most of the time. Not all the time, though. I do need some, like mountains around Christmas time. What would be your purpose? So what would you be looking to do with your life? I think we all have a purpose, right? Where do you live? Where do you go? What places do you frequent? My best friend had told me that she told her husband that when their youngest is out of the house, when she graduates and goes to college, she was like, I'm never cooking again. Like we will literally get food out every night. So I think that's part of her best life. I do like cooking. I think I would like it a lot more if I got to do it without having to come home from work and do it. I do enjoy cooking though. So get that vision of your best life. And I really just want you to kind of absorb that, sink that in for a little bit. Because here's the thing, it's completely possible. Now, let me ask you this, and you can open your eyes if you want. Does your dream life change if Biden wins the presidency? Does your dream life change if Trump wins the presidency? See, what I've been observing over the last several months is a lot of people are putting a lot of power into and behind, a lot of control into and behind this election. And so what I really want to talk to you about is choices. And really, we understand I think we all understand we can't control others. Sometimes I think we wish we could. We can't control others. We can only control ourselves. So first, I just kind of want to talk about in the immediate. So either way, there are going to be a good number of people that are upset, disappointed, mad, whatever the case may be, either way, with either result. And we don't know what those people will go to the extent of doing. I saw some posts yesterday on Facebook where some stores were actually boarding up their windows for fear of rioting and stuff like that. That's kind of crazy to me, but we don't have control over what other people are going to do. So just understanding the only thing we have control over is how we choose to handle it. Now, I can tell you, I have friends and family who voted on both sides, and I do not let that affect my friendships or my family. If anything, it'll be like, hey, let's not discuss this. And that's okay with me because my relationships with people are not founded on those types of things, right? Those are things I don't necessarily have control over politics. So I heard somebody bring it up at one point, that there's been a lot of blaming going on. And I mean, we've seen this. Let's be real, guys. I don't think that that politics in our country is at any point going to come back to or be a place of like, hey, we're being civil to each other and we're agreeing with each other and we're working with each other. I just don't see it happening. I think whoever wins, there's going to be people fighting them on either side to make sure you can't do what you want to do. They're going to make it as difficult as possible. And so, but I've heard a lot of blame. Well, you did this and you did this and you did this. We saw it on all of the debates, all of that kind of stuff. And I heard somebody say at one point, and I thought this was genius, that blaming others is really just taking your power, all of your power, and turning it over to someone else on purpose, right? And here's the thing is we all like to feel like we have control. We all like to feel like we have power. But when we blame other people, we are putting that power, we're giving it to them. And really, essentially, a lot of times that means the people that we're blaming, the people that we're giving our power to, are usually people who we're not super happy with. Maybe they just messed something up. Let's just look at a work example. You know, if me and a coworker were supposed to work on a project together and they fall through on their part and all I do is continue to blame and it was their fault, it was their fault, it was their fault. I'm basically giving all them all of the power to fix something that they already messed up. So why would I do that, right? So we want to really look at not blaming anybody else. We want to, we want to look at choosing what's going to work best for us. And so our brains were wired prehistorically, right? Our brains were wired to keep us safe, to help us to survive. And when like the threat of, a big dinosaur or the threat of, a saber-toothed tiger or something, when that went away, what happened is our brain searches for things that can harm us, things that can hurt us or cause us damage. And so our brain still looks for those things. That's wired in our brain to look for danger. And sometimes we look for danger, we see something that we define as danger, and our brain exaggerates that. And then we respond based on that fear. And what I can tell you, my own experience included, is when we react or when we behave out of fear, it usually is going to turn around and bite you in the butt. It's usually not going to be the best way to behave. It's usually not going to be the best way to react. And so we want to really choose a place of power. So when we're choosing how we're going to react to this presidency, when we're choosing how we're going to get to that dream life, I told you guys, your dream life is possible. You just have to go get it. You just have to go create it, right? So when we're choosing that, we have to make the best choices for us. So choose empowerment over fear. I think so much of this, of this election was based on fear. If the other guy wins, here's all the horrible things that are happening. If this guy wins, here's all the horrible things that will happen. And it's a lot of fear. And so fear puts us in that place of, oh my gosh, and we panic and then we don't usually react the way we should. Choose responsibility over blame. And I like to look at responsibility like different. I like to spell it incorrectly on purpose. So if you look at the word responsibility, a lot of times if you say responsibility, people are not real keen on that, right? It's great to say, oh my gosh, your kid is so responsible. That's so amazing. But if we're telling someone, hey, take responsibility for your behaviors, most people are like, what? So responsibility, I like to change it. So it's two words, response and then ability. You have the ability to respond, right? And you have the ability to respond poorly. You have the ability to respond wisely. And so really responsibility over blame. I'm not going to blame the other person. I have full responsibility in this choice and where I'm going. Whoever becomes president is not going to change your day-to-day life. If you went to work today, if they announce the president tonight, chances are, either way, you still have to go to work tomorrow, right? If you had plans this weekend, chances are, minus COVID, because we don't know what's going on with restrictions everywhere, but chances are you still have those things that you need to do or that you'll want to do this weekend, right? Choose living Choose living actively over passively. So a lot of us, and I talk about this all the time, the conveyor belt of life. Every morning we get up, we step on that conveyor belt. It's kind of like the Jetsons, which this was my favorite part of the cartoon. You step on the conveyor belt and it just whisks you right through life. And the next thing you know, you're sitting at home and it's about time to go to bed. You've worked today, you've driven and somehow made it safely because you don't even remember necessarily doing that. You've made sure the family was fed or whatever, and here you are, it's time to go to bed, and tomorrow morning you'll get right back up and get right back on that conveyor belt. That's living passively, right? Living actively is consistently looking at that dream life that you have and looking at how. I didn't ask you how. So how can I get there? Every single day you have choices to make. How can I get there? How can I change something to help me get there? Whether that's saving money, whether that's making extra money, whether that's how you choose to spend your money, whatever the case may be, right? That might just be spending your time. How do you spend your time? Choose being a survivor over a victim. Here's what I'll say. I feel like we're all survivors at this point in life. And so if we look at it and we're like, man, I made it through this. I made it through that. We look at some of the things we've made it through, right? And when we make it through COVID, we'll be able to say like, hey, we made it through COVID. Hey, we made it through this presidency or that presidency. Because guess what? Hi, Marie. Yes, living with intention. So we will, either way, every time a president is elected, there's a whole other side that's upset about it and thinks that this is the worst thing that could happen to this country. Every 4 years, right? I remember when President Obama was elected and people were like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could happen. But guess what? 8 years later, they're still here, maybe. I mean, we have to look at timeliness of things, but they survived it. Some people are like, oh my gosh, we've survived 4 years of Trump. Okay, we've survived it, right? We're not victims of it. We survive it. So choose being a survivor over a victim. Don't let this election have that kind of power over your life where then you decide now that your life is crippled because of whoever won the presidency. Because you have the ultimate power. You have the ultimate choice. You have the ultimate decision on how you're going to move forward through this. That's all I have for tonight. That's kind of crazy, right? So did anybody play any drinking games last night with the election? I know the results are still out. I was talking about this with one of my coworkers today, and it's like, never in my life, have we ever like gone through the whole day after an election and not known who the president was. I was like, that's kind of crazy. We survived it, right? We're going to survive it. We're going to find out at some point, I don't know when, who that president is going to be. And then we have to just decide to make that, okay, how am I going to handle things now? All right. Thank you guys for jumping on. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, Dee. And guess what? Dream big and live bigger. I'm telling you guys, you can get that dream life, right? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Bye.